Welcome to Wednesday Wandering with me, Kate Field. That's wandering about stuff and not just wandering off. Although I do go off on a variety of different tangents sometimes. So, in this week's Wednesday Wandering, I'm going to be talking about creativity and how we use creativity all the time as human beings, and so it's kind of entitled Creativity in Everyday Life, because that's what it is. Creativity isn't just for those kind of like elite few, the sort of the artists and the composers and the writers. No, it's not. It's for you. Everybody has the capacity and the ability to create. And I think what has happened over the years is that it's become this kind of more elite thing. And I don't know quite why that is. It might have something to do with our education system. I'm not sure. But anyway, there are so many people who think that they're not creative, that they're not artistic, that they can't do art. And it's really sad because it's not true. It absolutely isn't true. I have so many people come to my art classes, adults, who feel a need to create and have no idea where to start. And I'm so pleased they came and found me. I really am, because it's one of my absolute passions to encourage people to try out new things, to try new materials, to play. That's the thing. It's about playing. And when we can start to allow ourselves to play, that's when the magic happens. But my argument is that we all have this ability. We can all do it. And there are so many people who think that they can't, but when they actually look at what they do, then they can. So for example, are you the sort of person who can open the fridge, have a look at all of the stuff that's in there, and then cook something amazing with whatever happens to be in the fridge? So if you can do that, that is a really creative thing to do, isn't it? You're not following a recipe. You're not kind of getting all the ingredients out and measuring everything. You're just seeing what you've got and then making something wonderful. And it's those sorts of things that I really want to emphasise in this week's Wednesday Wandering. So another example are people who love to garden. Can you transform a very boring backyard into something magical? Lots of people can do that. It's amazing, isn't it? They know where to plant things, they know how to look after things, and flowers grow and fruit and vegetables, and it's all wow. It's just wonderful. It really is. And it's these sorts of things that I want to encourage you to think about if you have that tiny little thought in your head that you're not creative, because it makes me a bit sad, actually. On my arty YouTube channel, my art lessons and tutorials, which I started earlier in the year, in sort of March 2024, I've been getting a lot of fantastic comments from people who are saying how much they enjoy the channel, which is really nice. That's really nice, isn't it? But there have been such uplifting comments about people who have come back to art after not doing anything for 20 or 30 years because stuff happens, doesn't it? Gets in the way. There's people who perhaps have lost a partner and who are going through the grieving process and have found that by doodling, by doing some art journaling, by sketching, by just playing with some paint, has enabled them to process the grief that they're going through. And it's that kind of thing that I am really interested in, and all aspects of humanity, I guess. that's the sort of thing that I really love to do. And I love to explore. I love people. I think that comes across in my online classes and in my real life classes, where I teach a group in Axminster in Devon, near to where I live. And it's just, one of the things I really love is having a chat. So sometimes we don't actually do very much art at all. We might just do some doodling, play with some paint, do a bit of sewing, bit of knitting, bit of crochet, weaving, something like that. But we have a conversation, and that conversation can be funny and flippant and crazy, and sometimes it can be very deep and personal, and it's just wonderful. I think the ability for human beings to communicate on so many different levels is a fascinating thing, isn't it? So I was commissioned by the Welcome Collection in London a few years ago to run a series of workshops in their reading room. Now, if you have never been to the reading room at the Welcome Collection, it's on the Euston Road. It's kind of opposite Euston Station, if you know that bit of London. And it's amazing. Oh my goodness, it's the most beautiful building. And the reading room, imagine the most wonderful library, and then imagine sofas and a rug and blankets and then a museum of kind of strange artifacts, and that's the reading room at the Welcome Collection. It's wonderful, and you can just go there, just wander in and pick up a book and sit on the sofa and just read. It's lovely. It's a lovely space. Anyway, they asked me to run this series of workshops, and it was throughout the summer, and the idea was that anyone could turn up, and they wanted me to do a bit of kind of craft type thing that was linked to something in the collection, in the museum part or in the library part. So one of the amazing collections that they've got there are a load of sort of strange artifacts that have been used in various rituals, and they're like, I guess, lucky charms, that kind of thing. And it's a fascinating collection. It's only small. It's in a small cabinet, and there's all sorts of kind of like strange things that people have picked up. It could be like a shell or a pebble from the beach, or an old set of keys. It's that kind of stuff. They're like trinkets, but they've been made special by the person who owned it. And some of these have been donated, and some of these have been found, sort of excavated by archaeologists. Anyway, they're in this collection, and I was looking at it and I'm thinking, oh, perhaps I can take this as a starting point for one of my sessions. So yeah, that's what I did. And I found bits of wood and string and some beads, some old keys. I went through junk shops and second-hand shops and found lots and lots of kind of knickknacks, I guess, some bits and pieces, because I do love a bric-a-brac shop. Oh my God. No, I'm going to get distracted and wander off. I will talk about that another time. No, this one, get back to the point. The idea was that people could just come in and make something. Perhaps tie this string together around a bit of a key, perhaps do some plaiting or crochet the string or something like that. There were no rules, not really. But the main point was to have conversation. And in the Welcome Collection, you get everybody. There's just all sorts of people. So there are people like me who were sort of living or working in or around London who would just be there anyway because we love it so much. There'd be tourists, there'd be students. There's lots of the universities around. that bit of London. Obviously, it's very near Euston Station, St Pancras Station, so you would get sort of people coming for the day and that kind of thing. And so there was lots and lots of people coming and going, and they would be going to other bits of the Wellcome collection, to the various exhibitions that were going on and the talks and all of that kind of stuff. And then over the tannoy system, they would say, come to the reading room for this session, just turn up, there's no cost. And so I had no idea who was going to turn up. And it was just wonderful. It was so lovely, because when the first day I did it, I was like, perhaps no one's going to turn up. What if no one turns up? I would just be like sitting there all by myself. But that didn't happen. People wandered in because human beings have a natural curiosity, don't they? And there's all this stuff on the table. So I encouraged people to sit down, and they could chat to each other if they wanted to, or they could just do something on their own. And I would just kind of just generally have a bit of a chat. It was very gentle. So those kind of introvert people, and I am quite introverted. I've kind of practiced being extrovert as a teacher. But I know that for some people, they don't want to talk to anybody at all. And that's okay, isn't it? You can do that. And we were talking about the artefacts. And I talked about the collection, and I talked a little bit about the history of it. And we just started to make our own. And of course, what happens is if you are working with your hands, your mind starts to relax, and you can start to just have a conversation with a complete stranger. And it's that sort of creativity that triggers something else. And I love that. I love that. It's one of the things that just makes me really, really happy. So that was great. That was a really good session. The next session I did with the Wellcome collection, they wanted me to look at knitting and crochet. They've got some old knitting books. Oh my gosh, they're amazing. They're absolutely amazing. I could have lost myself in a Victorian knitting book. It was so interesting. And so I wandered off a bit then again, sorry. So I set up, I had yarn, I had knitting needles, I had crochet hooks, and basically anyone could turn up. If they had their own knitting, they could just come and join me and we could do a bit of knitting together. If they wanted to learn how to crochet, they could come and do that. So I had these 6 young men turn up. They were very nice. They were very, very polite. They were all from, where were they from? The London School of Economics. That's where they were from. They were students, and they had just been, or they were just about, no, they were about to go to a lecture, but it wasn't for another 3/4 of an hour or something. So they'd got there early. And so they heard the announcement to say that there was going to be knitting and crochet in the reading room. And they thought, yay, let's go to that. Go figure. It was brilliant. Anyway, there they were. And they were amazing. It was so lovely and funny, and it was brilliant. So there was a couple of older ladies who knew what they were doing, and so they started talking to these young men, and so we got them to cast on. They did knitting and they did some crochet, and it was great. It was really lovely, and we started talking to them. We started talking about their course and what they've been doing and all of that kind of stuff. The best bit was one of them got a phone call, obviously from one of his friends, picks up his phone, and he says, yeah, I'll be with you in a moment. I'm just finishing off my crochet. Yay! That was lovely. And the other really lovely thing was one of them said, I think I'm going to take this home with me and show my nan. They were so sweet. It was wonderful. So that is my Wednesday wandering on creativity and how it kind of pings into our lives. And I hope you can join me next time. Take care. Bye bye.